Welcome everybody to another episode of The Fiend. We are going to be talking about two things today. First one's going to be very small, DreamHack, Dream League, and then second one's going to be the TI invites. It's a lot more to talk about that. Do you guys care about Dream League at all? Charlie, I know you don't. You specifically had this conversation while I was at Dream League that the analysts needed to stop acting like this tournament mattered.
It was a pretty good tournament. I thought.
Okay, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. All right. If you're gonna fucking quote me on shit, don't fucking put words in my mouth.
All right. What did you mean, Charlie?
I did not say that the analysts need to stop acting like this tournament mattered. I'm just saying it seemed like somebody told the people on panel or whatever, like DreamHack or whatever, to go along with the narrative or stay away from the narrative that the tournament didn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Alan?
What?
What? Fucking what?
I don't even know how to respond to what you just said, Charlie.
Okay. There's nothing to respond to about it. I was just listening to Dream League, and I just heard...
What do you want them to say? Do you want them to tell the viewers that...
No. Okay, so
I think Charlie was saying that the narrative needed to be ignored entirely, right?
Yes.
You shouldn't bring up the fact that whether or not these teams are trying
So what
hard
happened? You don't even have the context of this. Austin brings up some stupid point and drags me into this shit. All right, so this is what fucking happened. I'm sitting there listening to Dream League in the background, and I just hear them keep on talking about how they're talking about the narrative about how the tournament does matter or the players are trying or some shit like that. And I heard that they just went on for like 30 minutes or whatever. And I just said in our Fiend chat that they need to stop doing that. That's all. All
right, that makes sense. I mean, although if it was a fill, if it was like an extended fill, that happens all the time on desks. You get into like...
No, it was not an extended.
No, was it? No,
here's the question, Charlie. Do you believe that the teams really weren't trying? Secret and Liquid.
No, I think they were trying. I think they were playing to their best ability. They were not drafting to their best ability.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's pretty typical, right? Like that was the same thing we saw at Star Ladder last year, at the Star Summit, basically.
I mean, that's
the summit
you're gonna
as
see
well
from
with
all the teams that get in before TI.
No, I think the only thing I saw, it was just nice. Secret looked like garbage, which was interesting. Even though they were trying to steal OG draft. The only thing I took out of this tournament was that Secret doesn't know how to run other people's drafts, and it made me laugh when they tried running like the middle Visage, and I don't even think MP played middle Visage before that, and that just made me laugh. And then the rest of the tournament was like, I feel like Liquid wanted to be down 2-0 in the grand finals, and then just shit on Planet Odd because they know they're a better team than them. That's about all I took out of it. Because you
think they threw the first two games and then just all right, turn it up.
If you saw game 1 and 2, I don't know, Liquid should have won. And then you saw game 3 when they won in 16 minutes. Okay,
what are we talking about?
We're talking about Planet Odd getting shit on in the finals, and they wanted to make it competitive because they wanted to see if they could win from 2-0.
Yeah, is that what you think happened?
I mean, did you see Game 3, Blitz? I think you were there.
Well, Blitz, for somebody that was there, you tell us what happened.
Are we live right now?
Yeah. We're already live.
Oh,
we started without you.
So I talked to Kuro. I said, "Did you guys try hard?" Because I wanted to know if it was that kind of thing, and he's like, "Yeah, we want to try hard," because they wanted to. Kuro of all people thinks like it's good practice. Like he doesn't believe in this idea, and I heard PPD say it as well on a podcast. Like they don't believe in this idea of like saving strats or whatever, or like intentionally gimping yourself. Because the main reason they went to DreamHack was to see if they were any good, right? And like work out the last kinks that they have left. So it was like, he's like, we want a good series. Because we were going to fuck around. Like Misery was going to play like mid Viper and shit. And Weehaw was going to play 4. Moon was going to play like 5. Like it was going to be crazy. And then they were like, we want to play real Dota. So we played real Dota. But the problem is like, we didn't come up with anything, right? Like nobody talked about anything. We just kind of showed up to play, and eventually Rasmus ran out of strategies. Like we no longer knew what to do, and they had more stuff to pull from. So
cool.
We developed some like weird ass anti-mage meta too. That
yeah,
But
That
I
was
mean,
a
we
little
talked to them
strange.
after, and he was just like, "Yeah, we learned a shit ton from you guys," and he said we play an abusive style of Dota, which I agree with, and yeah. So that's what happened.
Blitz, is this the
What's up?
last tournament for Planet Oddman?
I don't know. I guess we're gonna have a post-mortem soon with the sponsors and the team, and talk over everybody's options and what they want to do.
All right, you guys.
You didn't answer the question, but yeah, that's fine. I mean, you know if you're breaking up or not. There's 100% you know if you are. But you don't have to answer. I agree with you.
Thanks, Grant.
I'm quite
You're
certain
welcome.
that Planet Odd's going to be doing some sort of changes by the end. How many teams have really managed to survive through the TI shuffle without having success? I can't think of a single
many.
one.
Not many.
Alliance.
Didn't they drop EGM after TI?
They did.
Yeah,
Which
but that's just
time?
like their thing they do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the casual kick.
Mm-hmm. All right, you guys care anything else about Dream League?
I just think the middle Vistage might have a big role in the TI. That's about all I took out of it, like actual play-wise.
We saw one or two Arc Wardens. I keep seeing it in my pubs. I swear to God, that hero's too strong.
Yeah, we're gonna see. Yeah, definitely. We're gonna see him. You just lost that game, right? When you were up 5
Yeah, I just
Raxes.
fucking lost that game. Kill me.
It's like
Oh
people
my
talk.
God.
Remember the like going back way old, right? People talked about Syllabear. Oh, this hero's the best late game in the game because he has 6 slots or 12 slots. When
Mhm.
Arc Warden actually has 12 slots. Like he literally has 12 slots.
Yeah, it's
So we'll see.
it's tough. All right, well, that's enough with Dream League then. Our big topic we're gonna go through little bit by little bit is the TI invites finally came out. The talent has been announced. The first thing is that Day 9 is going to be the host, with Machine actually being the group stage host. Since we already knew Red Eye was out since his post like a month ago. There was a lot of speculation between those two, and they both end up getting in. Reminiscent of what, TI5 with Chobra and Red Eye, where they have a separate group stage host. Charlie, you a fan? Day 9? I mean, I'm a big fan. I think he's going to be fantastic.
I have no idea. I honestly, I don't watch a lot of Day 9 stuff. I didn't even really watch him that much in StarCraft either.
Mhm.
So I have no idea.
Who
I have
has
no
watched
opinion
him?
here.
Who has
I
watched
have.
Day 9 host? All right.
I
I've
watched
watched a
his
little
E3.
bit of it. Yeah.
And I mean, StarCraft was my first game, so yeah, he's gonna be amazing. Like I don't know what everyone's
There's
deal is.
honestly, there's no question he's going to do a good job. Like the E3 is obviously kind of the crown jewel in his portfolio. That's he has a hell of a resume. I don't. My one doubt about it was I don't know the kind of message it sends when you have hosting TI, being the main event host of TI, literally be someone's first Dota event that they've worked in any capacity. I'm still not quite sure how I feel about that, but I tweeted that out, and Adam of MLG came back and said, "Look, you know, I see Sean, I see Day 9 as a LeBron level talent in esports, and when you have the opportunity to get that level of talent that you know is going to do a good job, you take it." And I took that very seriously. Like, if that's, you know, Adam has a pretty good finger on the pulse of how different talent are perceived both within a game and across different games. And for him to tweet that Sean's perceived like that, I think he's going to do a great job, period.
You know what it really means? It means the rest of us are shit.
Well, they keep
I
on
mean-
having to reach outside of Dota to pick up talent for the international. So it does kind of say that our Dota talent isn't good enough, according to Valve.
But I think Nahaz answered Blitz's question, like, well, why does everyone think Day 9's going to be bad? I don't think everyone thinks Day 9's going to be bad. They're just mad that someone who worked on Dota and hosted a bunch of events successfully didn't get
Right.
invited, and some guy who didn't. Like, that's why, I mean, it's just, they say dumb shit like, oh, Day 9's going to suck ass. He doesn't play Dota. They're just meaning, in a nicer way, why isn't Coddle Guy here? Day 9, not Dota.
I mean, honestly, Day 9's probably played more Dota than Paul has in the last
Oh, absolutely. I
however
wouldn't
many
invite
months.
Red Eye either. I wouldn't invite any of those dumbasses they keep inviting who don't play Dota. I
Like,
wouldn't.
Grant,
That's just me.
are you just all for cutting anybody out that doesn't play like at least 2,000 hours of Dota in a year and just only have the Dota
Yeah.
OGs?
I'd be fine with that. Like in a casting analyst and host role. I think Casey's fine. It's just interviewing. Anyone can interview somebody. Like, hey, what up? What are you wearing? Like, it's not. I think that's fine. But like hosting, yeah, I agree with. Like, nah, it should be. That's why I'm more fine with Day 9 than I was with Chobra or Red Eye. Because at least you can watch him stream once a week. You can watch him play. If you see like his games played, he has a ton. He probably plays more than almost all of us even lately.
But you know Chobra, he was our manager in Zephyr, and we played Dota together all the time. Like we literally played last night. Not to like, shit on anybody, but
Oh shit! You played last night. Why isn't he hosting then?
they ask him, but he says no. He just doesn't have time anymore. He's not really interested in hosting anymore.
Yeah, he's moved out of the talent light and into full-on production. Yeah.
I will say that Ben says that he was Chobra's his favorite host.
He got
Isn't he
the. I like how you pointed to Benwu, not to yourself, and
Well,
not
'cause
to like. I really
don't
like
work with,
Chobra.
like, two talents.
Yeah.
Chobra was our fucking manager on Zephyr. Of course I love him. Like, I'm completely biased.
But Benwu is like, that's the golden standard. If you can get
Well, because
Benwu's approval.
Ben is just like had more experience with panels than I have. I've only ever worked like 2 panels in my life.
We had a great time on that panel at Frankfurt
Yes,
2015. That was a lot. Like, that was probably, I think that was probably the most fun I've had on a panel like throughout the course of an event, because it was me, Milk, Hani, Ben, and Chobra, and it was like mostly the same panel for the event, which is something I really liked. I think they do too much. They tend to do too much switching nowadays, and it was a lot of fun. We had a good narrative, good rhythm throughout the event.
Yeah, it does seem like Valve is definitely trying something a little bit different here. They brought Day 9 in to host, and then they also are bringing in a bunch of pros. PPD, PyCat, Ake, Bulldog, and CCNC are all newer pros. Obviously, there are some like Synderen who are coming back, but they've been kind of mainstays. It seems like Valve are trying something out here. They want to incorporate a lot of pros, not even ex-pros. They're not even done playing yet. Some of them, they're still going to keep on playing, but they want to incorporate them into the event. What do you guys think about that? Obviously, we're going to really value the expertise. Do you think that's a successful way to try out TI?
What do you mean try out TI?
I mean, this is definitely something that they're kind of experimenting with, right? Like some of these talent haven't actually been, some of these guys haven't actually been on camera for a show for any tournament.
Honestly,
Yeah, sure.
I think. Go ahead, Grant.
No, after you, sire.
No, after you.
No, after you.
Grant, you're
like
going
to hear you
first.
say- No, Charlie is.
All right, whatever. Honestly, I think it'll be fine. At the end of the day, they'll say good things and interesting things. For the most part, like whatever they say, people are going to want to listen to anyways. The only problem is if they don't say anything or if they're really boring, like maybe S4 in that PPD interview. But like at the end of the day, I don't think they're going to make or break the event. So who the fuck cares? It'll be fine.
That was a part of the problem with the TI4 broadcast, right? Was that the panels ended up getting very dry since they kept on more and more analysts. Nahaz, I know you were a part of that actually.
TI5 I think
TI5,
was
sorry.
Is what I think. This happened at TI5 where as the event went on, the desk for like the last 3 days of the event was almost always Red Eye, Winter, Waga, and
Sebastian
and Merlini. And sometimes, it was basically Red Eye and Merlini were always on, and then it was almost always some combination of Mad, Winter, and Waga. And I really disliked the three. It was basically three of the same type of input and a host. And I think panels are a lot stronger when you have different types of input, different perspectives coming out from each person up there on the panel. And I do look. I am all about meritocracy, guys. I mean, I'm a Chicago economist, as this is what I said in my post. Like, I am all about free markets.
It means you should be at TI, Grant.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly,
love matricocracy.
What it means.
Go on.
Holy fuck! All right. What it means is, I think TI is the one event of the year that we've had a number of people say. Toby brought this up in one of his posts on a different subject a while back, and I'm sorry, this was LD that put it this way. That TI really needs to have more to do with the other 50 weeks of the year. Like right now, TI risks becoming a very divorced experience from the rest of the year because, the people that are at the Dota events for the rest of the year aren't necessarily going to be featured on the main stage, on the main panels at TI. And that does bother me. I think people don't realize, like, in terms of event talent fees, like it's not a big deal for me because obviously, I have another professional career that I'll probably go back to. But in terms of event talent fees, the fee for TI it can easily be twice as much money as you make in talent fees from the rest of the year. For a lot of people, it is. And I mean, we're talking, it is the only event with 5-figure talent fees. Like there were talent at the event last year that paid their whole rent for the year based on TI. TI is something that it funds the rest of the year for the casters that make it there. And it's the one event of the year. Like, I'm a big believer in, you don't earn a place at TI by grinding games. You don't earn a place by doing more events than anybody else. You earn a place there by being good. But I do think there needs to be an element of recognition and to invite people that have never worked a Dota 2 LAN before over people that have contributed to the scene throughout the year. It bothers me a little.
I mean, is that an issue with TI paying too much or the rest of the scene not paying enough?
Well, that's the problem, is that ESL and MLG and the other tournament organizers, like they, especially once they've lost access to crowdfunding, like they can't pay those kinds of talent fees and still make money. Now, my hope is that with the majors and minors system, that we're going to see third-party tournament organizers get access to crowdfunding back. And in fact, I think that is the necessary condition for the whole major and minor system to work. And so I hope that you'll see throughout the year those talent fees smooth out a bit.
So that has to do with
and somebody asked me in chat, by the way, specifically, were they paying that kind of money before they lost compendiums? They were not paying that money before they lost compendiums, but one of the things, at least that I've experienced, talent fees have actually been level to slightly down, except for TI.
They have stagnated. I would say over the last 2 or 3 years, I think they've remained around the same. Part of that's got to do with talent themselves, though, right? Talent want to be able to make more money, then they're going to have to actually create something to be able to force organizers to actually pay more money, right?
Did you just leave? What happened? What the fuck happened?
I don't know. Hallam had to go do something.
I had to lock my cat up. He was going to get in the mic and start making cat noises. But anyway, I do think, again, I think without access to crowdfunding, there's only so much that the tournament organizers can do to monetize in Dota 2. Like the monetization options in Counter-Strike are they're so much bigger right now than in Dota. And so yeah, I do. Yes, if you are asking specifically about talent monetizing, it's awkward. Streaming is great, but streaming is very, very skewed. Like if it's always been the case, and especially for Dota, if you're like one of the top handful of streamers, you do really well. If you're not, YouTube there's absolutely no money in YouTube unless you make a Patreon, which like I've kind of been about. I don't know. You guys tell me.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and give Toby a voice here. He says, it's up to talent to stand up for themselves, have power in their own brand, and improve their conditions, which is hard when Valve proved, like at this TI7, that you are never secured an invite, which goes back to what you were talking about, Alan, when, yes, you're saying, like, yes, you have to be good, right? And there are plenty of people who are good in the scene. But you want to see also, like, if you're also in the category of good, then it probably should say something if you've worked the whole entire year doing Dota events, because in some ways, mostly because TI does take up such a big part of the pie and everything, and it is such a big part of your salary, that if you aren't able to get that TI slot, then you might not be able to just do Dota. Anyway.
Right.
Which I think it's bad for maybe this group of people, because I don't know how many of us actually need the money for Dota. Even me, like I'm perfectly fine with just my job. Like if I got invited to an event and they said they can pay me $50 a day, but they'll pay for hotel, food, and all that, I would still say yeah. So maybe I'm part of the problem, but for me, I mean, maybe I am. I just love casting Dota. That's it. Like if people ask me, I don't even ask. Maybe I should ask for fees or something like up front. If they said you want to go to an event, I'll just say yes, because I can take the time off. I have another job. I don't give a shit. I just love Dota. So I mean, I'm probably a bad person to ask about this, because
I mean, I think with the exception of Austin, we're all bad people to ask about this. Like,
I think I'm also a bad person to ask about this, but you know.
I mean,
Caster here.
Yeah, we're awful. But I mean, we all have income sources outside of Dota. So like, if you ask us, hey, do you want to work an event? Like if Valve comes to me and asks, hey, do you want to work an event, or any organizer or whatever, I don't actually really give a shit about the fee. Like I'll go because I'm usually going anyways. So it's like I don't care enough to negotiate, because at the end of the day, it's not like.
Yeah, that's again, and that's part of the problem. One of the few things that I had to promise my wife when we were talking about this whole, you know, do you want to take a year off and do mostly esports stuff, was she said to me, and I thought this was very fair, if you're going to do this, you need to start approaching it like a business. Like you can't, yes, I mean, relative to the amounts of money that we deal in, the talent fees that we're getting paid, it's not much, but you got to care about that not much.
Yep.
I mean, ultimately, it's like a trade-off. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
I mean, it sounds like everyone's kind of agreeing with the Allen's like good, but also you need to actually do Dota events around the year. Does anybody disagree with that? Does anybody think it's perfectly fine to just hire whatever talent you think is absolutely?
I think it's. I mean, like. It depends on what perspective you're looking at, right? Perfectly fine from whose perspective? Like, are you talking about from the health of the scene, or are you talking about, you know, what is best for the event? What's best for the event is obviously you pick the best talent for the event.
Well, but that's the thing though. How do you? I understand that. Okay, fine, that could be, but we don't know. I mean, we have people like Ake has never worked. Bulldog's never worked as talent at a LAN before. I don't think CCNC has either. Pycat has, and he's quite good.
Yeah, sure. I think those, like, I think with the like Ake and Bulldog are the big two question marks. But I mean, like, I think those are more exceptions rather than the rule of what they're looking for. I think they could have like grabbed Misery or brought back Will or whoever to replace certain people, and I think it would have been fine. But like who is actually the best versus the mentality of just picking the best people, I don't think there's anything wrong with that mentality coming from the perspective of the tournament organizer.
I think the thing is, like, would an outside perspective, would a casual viewer give a shit that CCNC or that Trent Pax is on a panel instead of CCNC? Like, it wouldn't make a difference, right? So why are they punishing Trent for casting a lot? and praising CCNC for losing in the qualifiers.
Oh my god.
And why? Like, why?
No, that I was waiting for somebody to say it. Like, Grant just kind of, to me, made a big point. Like, I really, there's just a part of me that really likes, oh, you guys lost, your team lost in the qualifiers. It's okay, we'll just bring you on as talent.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
It's
think
kinda
talent should be
who-
dedicated? Is that what you're saying?
who-
That talent should
No,
be.
no, I don't necessarily like. I don't necessarily think it has to be. I don't think it has to be binary. Like, I think, I think you can't, as long as you've done a few events here. Like Podcat, I think is a great choice. He's done events before. We know he's good. We know he has a ton of game knowledge. Right? Great. Okay, but pros who've literally never done a LAN before. Literally, forget a LAN, who've never casted an event before. We're having them as that. It just seems odd to me. Charlie's right though. At the end of the day, it's going to be a great show, right?
Well,
So
my
should
other
the casual viewer care? Maybe not.
I mean, if you're so what I was told anyways was that Valve is going for more of like a NBA live, inside the studio thing where they just have a bunch of ex-pros and they can shoot the shit and talk about. And from that perspective, it's like if that's the kind of show that you want to go for, which is clear that they want to go for that kind of show, right? Then that's this is where they're gonna try it out. Yeah, I'll agree with you. It's a little weird that they choose TI.
Then why do you have Ake?
But there's only one Charles Barkley. Man.
I do agree with that. I do agree with that. If you're gonna go for that inside the NBA kind of thing, like I think that's a fine idea. The people that they picked for it are a little odd though.
I agree, but
yeah,
at
exactly.
the same time, like that's they. So from my perspective, it's like they're probably thinking to themselves, okay, Ben will probably be on there, and then who else can we have? We have PyCat, who is on Navi, but we're not sure if he's going to make it yet, so we'll wait. Most likely not, and then you needed people that you knew for sure wouldn't go in any capacity, like that would have a free schedule around that time. So then you ask somebody like PPD, who is legit going to just own, and then who else do you have to draw from? Like I'm sure that they ask like Loader or some shit, but then it's like
I don't think they even think about it that like the talent invites, the invite decisions get made so late in the game.
But at least I think for the pro ones, they had to consider it before quals. So if you need to make that decision before the quals, and you're thinking to yourself, who's played at the highest level, and who do we think can do this job? I mean, Ake is a good-looking guy. He's well-spoken. Bulldog's a funny dude. Like he'll provide good humor, and he's a little bit shy, but it'll be okay. Like that was the direction of the show that they want to go with. Fair enough.
Yeah, but look, it does need to be said. This is not the first time that somebody has tried to duplicate inside the NBA, and it usually fails pretty badly because there is only one Charles Barkley.
Nope.
So you want to be able to run this out on, at least try this out on majors beforehand. I remember you said something about that, Alan.
We've had 5. Like that's again. The majors we heard this about Manila. In fact, like a bunch of us were told before Manila that they were going to try a bunch of new people out, and then all of a sudden the invites come out, and it's mostly the same names. So I think you had 5 majors over the last 2 years to experiment, to at least get somebody's feet wet, and I guess at the end of the day that you guys are right, that my biggest objection is sort of you think about the scene the other 50 weeks of the year and the message it sends and like an ongoing health type of thing. I can't, I'm not willing to point to anybody and say they deserve to be there or they're going to be bad. That's Grant's job.
Okay. I can just tell you who doesn't deserve to be there. I won't say the rest of it.
Like at the end of the day, I don't think Valve gives a shit about.
Oh no.
Whether how much time you've put in the other 50 years or 50 weeks of the day. It just matters how well they think you're going to do those 2 weeks.
But the problem is that like Valve sort of always thinks that they know best, and sometimes they don't. Like, and
okay, let's be real. Let's be real.
They usually do.
Everybody from that asshole in Twitch chat right now, and from that asshole on Reddit right now, everybody always thinks that they know the best.
Part of the problem
That's not just characteristic of Valve or anybody. It's all of us. We're all a bunch of arrogant douchebags that
So what do we do then?
want to
Do we
run
have
their
like
own idea.
there's like a compendium vote for casters? Like, what caster would you like to see? Who worked the hardest, guys?
Might
Let's
as well
take a
give
vote.
them more money, right?
No, I
That's
mean,
all Valve cares
at
about.
the end of the day, it is what it is. It's the guys in charge who are putting on the fucking tournament. They're gonna do what they think is done best. I mean, we can sit around and like fucking complain about it and talk about it. It creates great content. But
That is the point of the show. Thank you,
that's
Charlie.
what we're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out. All right, conversation's over, I guess, Charles.
We've come full circle.
Yeah, I'm just like we were talking about the talent that got invited. You know, the Ake, like, what were you saying, Blitz? You say Ake is very well spoken. Like, he is when he speaks, but I mean, you've been around him a lot. I've been around him a lot. Like, he doesn't speak that often. Like, he's very quiet. Actually,
I think it'll be
which is-
different. I think it'll be different when he's in a panel. Like, I had a conversation with them. They know what it is. Like, they're planning out how they're gonna do shit. Like, look, I'm all for it, Grant. If I could have, buddy, I would have loved to see you and Cuddle Guy there.
No,
Like,
I don't give a shit about that. I just mean, like, if I'm sitting there, am I really gonna want to watch, like, Peter's gonna be the dry? I mean, you can just classify him, right? Peter's gonna be the dry humor guy, like, kind of witty. Bulldog's gonna be the Twitch memer, and then Ake is gonna be the voice of reason, who has very good logic. Like,
yeah.
it's easy to classify people, but are you like? I don't know where I'm going with this. Just I know where it's going. And it's just like
I mean, it sounds like a good show to me, Grant. I'm not sure what you're arguing against.
The
now.
thing is the
like
people.
you really think they're all gonna mesh well together? I mean, and you're saying they're planning it out, they're talking. Like that doesn't mean shit once you're
I
in
have
front
no
of
idea if
live
it's gonna mesh
camera with
well.
1 million people.
But I do know that-
I actually don't know if they're gonna mesh well.
I don't.
Because like it's more just about like what role you play. You have to have a certain level of chemistry with each other, right?
Yeah.
And like Ake and Bulldog might, but like Peter's never really talked to those guys before. And I know like if you saw the PPD podcast with S4, there were a lot of like great things said or whatever, but I mean I talked to Peter about it like a couple days ago, and it was like hard for him because they don't really have that chemistry, right? It was very apparent. S4 gave a lot of like one-word answers, and I feel like this is going to be very similar in some ways.
Yeah, that's why the Slacks and Bobo ones were great because I mean, he's friends with them. Like, if you don't know the people, it's just going to be difficult from the beginning. I mean, obviously they have 2 weeks, right, to build up and get it.
I mean,
but
that's why you have a good host, and I think that's why you hire somebody like Day9 who is really
true.
flexible and be able to make these things work. The thing is like, I like Dakota a lot. I like all the hosts that we've had so far, but at the end of the day, like Valve made a change because they weren't super satisfied with how their panels are going. Right at TI5, we have a panel that's super analytical with 1x, like 1 or 2x pros, and then TI6 we kind of went away from that. We had Shane, Charlie, like we had a lot more casual
The two panel
perspectives,
idea.
right?
You mean
And
the
it's like-
best panel we've ever had? Agreed.
But but then if you think about that and they're like, okay, we're not wholly satisfied for that. What is the next step? What if we just take XTI winners, some pros that are relatively personable, try it out? Like I agree. I don't think that TI is where you're going to try it out, but I mean that's the direction that they want their show to go, and that's the direction that they want their show to go in.
Well, why if you're going in that direction, why isn't this going to be an even more extreme version of TI5? Because that's what concerns me is more than anything, like what bothered me about TI5 was that those panels were less than the sum of their parts. Like all of those guys on the panels, when we're talking about, Waga, Mad, Merlini, Winter, like all of those guys individually are very good. But when you throw 3 of them up there with Red Eye, it's kind of 3 people saying the same thing in Paul. And I worry that that's what you're going to get with these panels. You just need you need some different types of input up there.
Nope. Agreed.
I mean that's why they'll have somebody like Ben, right?
Hopefully. Yep.
They
What?
from
Do we
That's
know,
gonna be
by
up
the
there
way,
as well.
who's doing?
Uh,
Do we know who's doing group stage only and who's doing main event?
No, Valve specifically just put out a talent list, and you see your favorite personalities on there, and you say, great, they're going to TI, but they do not
Interrupting.
actually say...
Blitz said, Blitz said CCNC was only doing group stages, so there has to be a list out there.
I'm almost certain that CCNC is only doing.
You're almost certain. Oh, okay. So even though I'm just checking.
I mean,
Well, I'm
here's the
wondering
thing.
based
But the
on
point is,
ordering-
right, the point is Valve just want to be able to say, like, hey, these are all the people going to TI, and there's less controversy if you establish who's doing what.
I was just wondering because if you look at the way the invite picks go out, there's a pretty clear division. Like, so I've been told that Jack is only going as a translator, which sucks. And then
Isn't he
Weapus-
going to be on the Chinese panel?
I'm not sure, if you look at the English broadcast talent picture that Wick tweeted out, it's Jack, Weapus, and Scruff, like on the line below Pyrian, and then Bulldog, CCC, Draskell, Fog, Cheever, Cinder, and Tortellini all follow that. I was kind of wondering if the people after Jack, Weapus, and Scruff were going to be the group stage only people, but I don't know.
No.
Okay,
I would-
so
I would
no,
say
all right.
no. I don't think there's
Okay.
any specific order to that list.
All right, and that was another thing. Again, like TI5 was those TI5 panels were miserable because the other thing is we found out what games and series we would be doing at like 1 a.m. the night before, and when you're various talent that don't like need to hugely prepare every point, that's fine, but when you're somebody like me that actually needs to prep for the specific teams and games you're going to be doing, it's really hard. And I don't like... Valve tends to not give a lot of information, which is fine. It's their way. Stuff.
No, my favorite part is like a talent just going there to watch. Is I don't have to watch the panel. Like I'm complete. Like I don't have to hear casting and just watch the game how I want. I don't know if that sounds like weird, but like I like to focus on the game how I watch, and it's nice being there and like just go take a smoke break. I don't smoke, but like I don't know, food break or something. The panel's on. Like I don't think I watched one panel at last TI. I just left. I'm like, okay, I understood what happened in the game. I can just leave. It's nice not having to sit there like and go on a break from Twitch to friggin' go to my refrigerator. Just
All right.
All right, Grant.
I don't have any
Enjoy
way to
watching
follow that
panels?
up.
really
For
do
me,
enjoy watching panels.
Okay, for me that says, Grant, like, would you watch more of the panel if it was more entertaining, right?
No.
Like, you don't care about the analysis, you don't care about the entertainment, which work? Because that's really the two parts of panels, right? You're either there to analyze the game and people are there for the information, or they're going to stick around because it's the in-between show between games that entertains them.
That's the problem for me. Like, I just didn't matter. I just probably wouldn't watch a panel at all. Like, that's why I don't know, from a different perspective, I'd probably enjoy it if it's entertaining, right? If I had to hear like a stats man go over stats and then winner like analyze those stats, like I'm definitely not going to watch that if I'm a casual viewer, right? Like I'm just not.
Actually, you'd be surprised. I've had like a lot of people specifically tell me that they're fans of traditional sports or they're fans of other broadcasts and tell me that the sort of stats actually give them an into Dota, even though they're not super into the game itself. I don't know.
Like when was this?
At TI,
Like which TI? Like, like what
4,
panel?
5, and 6.
So people.
So
came
I
up
was
to me
there
and said,
for as.
Okay, wait.
I had a lot of people in particular a lot of people that I signed for at TI5 came up and specifically said, look, I don't play that much, but I love to watch Dota, and I really like the statistical content because it's like what you see in other sports. It gives context. It's the whole point. Like the whole point of good statistics is that they provide context.
Which will lead right into our next subject of no statsmen being invited
Fuck
to
'em.
TI.
I'm just, you know how I feel about stats people, Nahaz. It's nothing against you. I just don't think stats people are useful. That's just me. Like that's
Okay.
That's been like that since TI2. Like
I respect that. I respect that opinion.
Do you? You don't have to. You can tell Grant to fuck himself.
yeah, Alan,
No, I-
tell Grant to
Tommy's
go
a
fuck
fucking
himself.
goon
Let's-
now.
like
just tell him.
if you watched him in Manila Masters, like when Knoxville was on, he's like, God, these are gonna be such good stats, and me and Slacks are looking at it, it's fucking tuplets and shit. Like, who gives a fuck about like what the fuck is this?
Well, part of it is I actually don't. one thing that really bothers me about in-game stats is that we haven't really innovated. Like fundamentally, we're doing the same in-game stats now that we were 3 years ago when I stopped doing in-game stats. Like that sucks. I mean, where's the new? Now, part of that is on Valve because in-game stats were broken for a very long time. The interface didn't work, and so a lot of people that wanted to get into it couldn't. And that has come back. We do, for the first time in a while, have some new features in the client, but it was so stagnant for so long that you just haven't seen people kind of come up through the ranks like they once did.
Yeah.
Maybe because it was never that interesting. I'm not saying that stats are inherently bad or uninteresting or whatever, but I think, I don't know, the way that we've had it in this scene for however long that we've had it has never really been, I feel like, that captivating.
Well, that I obviously disagree, but the point, Charlie, is that you start from something and you get better, and it hasn't gotten better. You're right. I mean, it has never reached anywhere close to, like, I thought at the time that I stopped doing in-game stats, like I thought it was going to get a lot better over the next year or two, and it really didn't. Part of that was just the features not being available in the client, and now it's just that nobody seems interested in it anymore, which is a shame.
I mean, I guess the sort of what we're seeing with Valve right now is the question that I guess they've asked themselves is, how much do you put into something that's not getting better before you just can it completely and say it's not worth it?
No, I mean, what I can tell you is that it's very frustrating to me because the types of stats and the types of information that we have right now are better than ever before. Like if you've seen what Pimpmuckle and Buka are doing with Layerth, it's amazing. So Nox and I are also working on something along that vein, which I think is going to be.
Wait, are you guys working together?
Dude, Nox and I are very good friends.
Okay, I just had to clear that up.
How do you guys decide for like the workload between you two? Is there like an onus on one person to complete something, or
you had to use the onus, didn't you? He does the workload is basically he does like 90% of the coding because my coding skills are pretty crappy.
What's that thing? It was like, Slacks we were at DreamHack, and I might just be blowing up Slacks' spot, but sometimes he'll just tag you, Scans, Knoxville, and Skim just to like start shit.
Oh yeah.
When he did it with the predictions, right? The predictions. And then he just
why do you guys
tweeting,
fall into that trap?
He's tweeting the bird just munching down on food.
Well,
he's just laughing. He's just like, I'm gonna wait to see what happens, and you guys fucking came.
I know it.
Okay, going back to the main point,
Not
like
a smart man, William.
I'm gonna kick you. No, I'm just kidding. Going back to the main point, like, so I'm a caster, right? Say it's me casting. There's a stats man. Like, when I see a stat come up on the screen, like, how does the stats man decide when they put up a stat and when not? Like, because I've seen some stats people write it, and then it's for like 10 minutes before, but they don't have a good time to place it, and then they just put it on. And it makes no goddamn sense. Like, what's supposed to be the interlock between casters and stats?
So I don't want to spend too much time on this because I feel like most people probably aren't interested. But briefly, like when I used to do in-game stats, I probably wrote about 5 stats for every one I put up. Like there are some stats that are really sick, but by the time you get them, there's just no good time for it, and as a statsman, you are like a hard support. Okay, you are there to add color to the broadcast. Most of the stats that I put up are not intended to be actually read by the casters. They're intended, and my model of it was when I was doing stats, at least when I thought decent at it, the stats were. My approach was always they're there for the people that are interested, but I want to make it as unintrusive as possible for the people that aren't. Like, that's why I like Lairth so much. Okay, Lairth is extremely unintrusive. Okay, the overlays are mostly small. A lot of them are semi-transparent. It's very easy if you're not interested in that information. They're not on the screen that long. It's very easy if you're not into it, you ignore it.
Yeah.
And that, to me, like, that is the golden, like, that's sort of the play, the dream, if you're thinking of a broadcast feature. It's there for people who are interested, but people who are not interested can safely ignore it. That's the whole point.
All right,
yeah.
we've had our fill of stats talk. I'm steered
Fuck
away
it.
from this one, guys. Going back to the TI invites, we also had just a couple of people who did make it. Lyrical, who made it, congrats to him. Tortellini is on there. I believe he's going to be running overlay stuff for the newbie stream. There are notable people missing alongside the Statsmen. No Statsmen whatsoever. Coddle Guy, Blitz, Charlie, Nahaz, Grant, Trent Pax, Pimp Munkle. Whole ton of people who are usually standard talent that are not making it this go around, some of which are in the call with us right now. I guess
All of us, but you.
Yeah, they're missing Yawar, Snakey. I mean, they're just taking out pros. Like, they're missing who else do we got? They're missing Swindle. They're missing Demon. Like, they're missing a shit. Like, over 200 people. Like, it's just they're snubbing too many at this point.
I guess the point of that was
Holy shit.
We had quite the backlash for Coddle Guy, for example. The community very much pulled for him. No news from Valve whether or not they're going to change that decision like they did for TI5, but kind of doubting it, especially since they went about it at TI5. They pretty much just cut the schedule in half for another caster and just shuffled Coddle Guy in there. So I guess it goes back to our talk earlier about the community and what they want, or at least the Reddit community, and what they want for a TI broadcast and who they want, and whether or not you cater to that, or you just say, fuck them, and you just do your own thing. And
Well, there's I don't know. There's a real question in my mind, has been for a long time, about how representative is Reddit of the Dota community at large. And my opinion is not very, but it's also a lot of times the only signal we have.
I think the only two, from my perspective, that actually really got snubbed were... It's weird people didn't talk about Trent Pax. I thought he deserves it more than a lot of the non-pros, even, which made it weird. And then Coddle Guy, obviously... I mean, he does everything, right? Maybe that's the problem, but he does it better than a lot of... Like, he does everything better than a lot of people do one thing. And those two being snubbed, and then, I mean, we saw Coddle Guy get in that one time, not get in this time. It's just, like, where would Trent Pax have fit in anyways, right? Because who are the panelists that aren't professional players?
That got invited?
Yeah.
Oh, Lumi, Pyrian,
Lumi is
Draskell, Fog.
casting?
Cast, right?
Panelists.
Yeah, Lumi's gonna cast.
Lumi's casting. So it
Lumi's-
would be
okay, Lumi-
Gods, Merlini,
Wait,
Fall. Oh,
We don't. That's the problem. We don't know who's doing what.
Well,
we have a pretty good idea. All right, let's pull this up. We have a pretty good idea. It's
literally just Gods and Merlini, from what
I think it's just
maybe
Gods and
Draskell, but Draskell's probably casting.
Wait, did Draskell get invited?
Yes.
I didn't even look. All right. I think it's just those two then.
Yeah, which, like, and that's the problem. It's like Blitz
Again,
said,
it's
the Valve has what they want to do, and like Trent Pax being a very good thing, but doesn't have the merit to back it up, like winning a TI. Like,
and it really to me it reinforces the old Reddit trope that you need X MMR to be a caster or an analyst. And it's,
thank you, Alan. You just
that's
opened up my
complete fiction.
segue right there. That's my next topic of conversation. Alan, you in your big old blog, which I posted in Twitch chat, that was one of the things you brought up. You said that the idea that you can't analyze Dota without being a pro, former pro, or having X MMR is fiction. You wanted to say a couple other things, basically the whole entire thing being about how we've got this trope in the scene that you can't analyze Dota unless you're
Like it's just it honestly. So most people will already know that I did baseball and college basketball statistics fairly seriously before I ever played Dota. I mean I spoke at a couple conferences and whatnot. Look, go read Moneyball, okay? Go look at the 3 best coaches in professional sports right now. You look at Bill Belichick, Joe Madden, right, and you look at Greg Popovich. Those 3 coaches combined have played 0 professional games in the leagues that they're coaching in, right? You look at the guys that engineered the Moneyball revolution on the quantitative side. You look at Theo Epstein, right, the most successful general manager in baseball, probably the most successful executive anywhere in the world in sports right now. Okay, these guys never played pro. Like the idea that you have to have played professionally to have some kind of insight about the game is ludicrous. All right, and if you look, a couple of the replies to this that I got is that, well, Dota is just so different from any of those other games that none of the lessons that we learn are applicable. If you honestly feel that way, all right, fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But I think that's a little ridiculous.
Can we just watch the movie Moneyball? Will that give us like the same thing? Or...
Sure, dude, sure.
No, I'm serious. Like, was that a good representation of the book or no?
I actually have never seen the movie. I taught the book. I wasn't interested in seeing the movie.
Grant, you're a man all about playing Dota. You specifically said
love
that
it.
for your TI invites. Do you agree with Alan? Do you think you judging your other analysts, right, that you've seen in some of these other events, you think the people who aren't playing Dota at a high level, don't have that former expertise, you think they can be good analysts, the best analysts, let's say, to be invited to TI?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only are they can analyze games more. I mean, they're I mean, like me, I play way less Dota, but I watch Dota more. Like, I analyze it more, but they're usually just overall better speakers than pro players. Like, a lot of pro players just can't talk. They don't know how. Like, could you imagine Sam being on a panel? Like, it just doesn't work. Like, he's literally one of the smartest people in Dota, but would you throw him on a panel?
Absolutely.
Like for a whole event, like it would be awesome. There's a lot of these guys. Like, look at what we've done at some of the other events. It's awesome to have like Sam on a panel for like one series or one game. Having Sam on a panel for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you go watch. I believe, if my Dota knowledge is correct, watch TI3, and I believe he post-game interviewed and paneled one game. Oh, it was, I mean, that's where you can go see a pro player being a pro player trying to analyze and cast a game in front of a bunch of people. It's not good. It just isn't.
Oh, let's be fair. That's the outreach. But Charlie Blitz, somebody's got to disagree with this, right?
No, I so here's my thing. I think like Bill Belichick, Pop, all those guys are like, those are more aberrations, right? Like, how many of those that have never played pro ball, but succeed at that highest level exist? Did they play in college at least?
Anybody that Belichick played like 2 years in college, I think. Popovich, I don't believe. I think he played it maybe at an academy. I mean,
here's the thing: they've all played, right? They've all had experience at
they
high
were,
level, right?
They were 4K MMR.
Is that 4K?
No, college is definitely 6K plus.
No. Like division. We're talking like Division 2 college. They were like that's like 4K MMR. Right?
I mean, Division 2 is at least like IXDL, and I don't see any analysts playing IXDL.
Yeah,
right now,
I'm saying that's higher than that.
Whoa,
man.
Right now, it's like 5K. But
okay. Anyways, regardless,
Charlie,
semantics
by the way,
aside, like
if you look though across all analysts, your point. Let me respond to your point, because your point
I
is.
haven't made my point yet. I haven't made it yet.
I call an extra bottle, by the way.
All right. My point is that playing at that high level at least helps.
Sure.
I think it's like a better indicator that somebody is going to know what they're talking about and what they're doing. And I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned once like working in esports now is that there's so many factors into going into that contribute to success. From
any business.
Let me. All right, so let me keep going. There's so many factors that contribute to success on the from the outside perspective. You really have no idea what that is. You just don't fucking know. So we can talk about all the success that Belichick and Pop have had, but we don't really know what goes into that. Or what exactly contributes to that? How much do how much do they how much does their support staff help? How much does the reputation help? Like all these sort of things contribute behind the scenes, and like making a blanket statement like you don't need I guess playing experience at a high level to be successful is using those guys as examples when you don't know sort of all the inner workings is sort of bleh.
Handle him, Nahaz.
I'm still waiting for you to make your point, Charlie. I didn't detect.
I'm saying
those
are shit examples. Those are shit examples.
Well, what example do you want? Do you want Doris Burke, who's one of the first? She's one of the first. She's pretty much the first successful female analyst for ESPN. She's doing regular men's NBA games and doing an excellent job. You want to talk about?
Does she?
You want to talk about
Isn't
Jay
she just
Bill?
the
You want to talk about
I
Van
thought
Gundy?
she interviewed.
Yeah,
Did she
she's a
analyze?
sideline
I thought
reporter.
she
She's
just
not-
No.
interviewed.
She has done full games as a caster now. She's done a great job too. You want to talk about Jay Billis doing NBA? You want to talk about now? He was 6K. He played 7K. He played at Duke.
Okay,
right?
so that doesn't help your point. My point is that look, you have no idea what
I can give you example after example, Charlie. What is it that you want me to do, Charlie? I can give you. I don't need you to do
anything. I'm just saying that like you have no idea what contributed to those guys' successes. You don't know what experience they have at. The
logical structure of your argument, Charlie, is such that I cannot refute it. Your argument is not logical right now. You're saying I'm giving examples of successful people, right, that have had success in an analyst or broadcast talent role without playing professionally, or coaching role without playing professionally. And you're saying, well, you can't use them as examples because we don't know what made them successful. Well, what makes Charles Barkley successful? I mean, there's a lot of...
I'm not saying that it's...
I don't understand even what you're trying to argue here, Charlie.
I'm trying to... You're saying that, like these guys... So your main point is that you don't need professional experience or high-level experience playing a game to be like a great analyst or coach or whatever, right? And you're using these people as examples.
As case studies, sure. Examples, right.
Sure. But, like...
All right, I'm sorry, Charlie. I'm sorry. We have a special guest here who wants to join in on this conversation.
All right.
PPD, welcome.
Oh.
What's up?
Well, yo, Peter, can I say one thing before you start?
I don't even have anything to say. I just wanted to get in on the Fiend.
Okay, I will agree a tad with Charlie, because I don't think without pro play, there's definitely if you've never played pro in anything, and you're just going into an event, you don't know what some people are thinking, stuff like that. And even though I played pro probably 2009 or something was the last time I feel like I was actually on top. I can still go back to that and think man, you just think about stuff like that. What happened in that game? What happened there? This, that. If you've never played pro before, there's a lot of things you can't analyze. And I mean, do you have to be one to be the best analyst? Probably not. Should you be a pro player or played at a pro level to be at the top echelon? Probably, yeah. I think you need some resemblance of being a decent player to have good analyzation.
All right,
who's the lowest MMR analyst? Is that a word? What?
All right.
Eric Spolestra is a great example. Somebody in chat mentioned that.
All right, Alan, hold on. PPD, what do you have to say here?
I'm really enjoying the show, guys. You're doing a pretty good job. I think you guys could call each other out a little bit more. It could be a little more aggressive. Nahaz, I really feel like you're holding back, man. I found your your last twit longer thing or whatever it was about the TI invites and everything, and it was amazing. It was one of my favorite written pieces of material in the last couple months that I've read. Charlie, you were just like rambling. I don't know if you noticed that.
I was definitely
All right,
rambling.
Peter,
I was definitely
Peter,
rambling. Like
Peter,
I was on a like I was thinking about a lot of things and just fucking stream of consciousness doing this. But look, the point is that like. Oh my god, I gotta fucking do this again.
All right, hold on, no, Charlie,
don't do it again.
Peter, I don't care. I don't care. Charlie.
Is that having experience playing at like at least like a fucking 5K plus level is better than like.
Are we saying casters can't be casters if they're not 5K MMR?
No, we're saying that
or analysts.
Analysts should have like a higher level of playing experience.
Agreed.
I think people want to listen to the analyst panel because they're not capable of thinking the way that the analysts are, and they want somebody to explain it to them in a way that they can understand. A lot of times, a lot of pros, especially those that aren't charismatic, they have a really hard time expressing their thoughts. That's why it's such a cool thing that's happening now is we're having a lot of players that are phasing out of their playing careers and stepping into roles as casters and analysts who are capable and charismatic enough to explain what's going on in their head for the last 4 years.
But do you think all these so-called pros can come on and actually speak their thoughts correctly? Like, I could just imagine, like, Bulldog, like, he watches a game and he wants to be like, man, that offlane play was good, but he's like, hoo, 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 or something, like, do you really think, like, every pro can come on and analyze correctly?
Not every pro, definitely not. There's, like, if we're talking about, are you talking about just the talent list, like those that are invited?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of the guys. Like you guys are saying, this is kind of the first event for even some of these guys, which I do think is a bit of a risk. But I do think a lot of the guys, there'll be a group stage. There's going to be like, a couple games going on at once. Not all of TI's viewership, like TI main stage is really where it's going to like turn up a notch, and that viewership is going to start peaking to like hundreds of thousands of viewers. And I think that the people that you guys have big question marks about probably won't be present during that. I think it's very fluid, right? Valve is a very fluid, they make very last second decisions, and if somebody really kills it during the group stage, maybe they'll get some time on the main stage. And if somebody,
that's what happened with Winner at TI5.
Yeah, and maybe people aren't really good on the group stage, they'll say, they'll phase them out. So
yeah, like Ryan Moore is at TI4. I'm just kidding.
Me and Ryan Moore just won a pub. It was great.
I said they didn't really do that last year, though, right?
No, they didn't.
Because they didn't. I know that the community didn't really like the mod LD caster combo, for example, but it's like they wanted to see it through for the most part.
Yeah, that was awful.
To be fair, though, this does feel like this TI, the invite list feels the exact opposite of. I mean, we talk about like maybe people should get invited for longevity or just casting, right? That's kind of what TI4 was, right? They invited a lot of tier 2, maybe even tier 3 talent to cast. And maybe they just didn't like how that turned out. And this is like the exact opposite.
Give me an example of somebody who is a tier 3 talent.
What is hip?
Greg was definitely tier 3 at that time.
He will admit it himself.
I think he will even admit it. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like that's like they literally they scraped the. I guess what does that say about me? If they scraped the bottom, I wasn't there. But it feels like they're doing the exact opposite of last time. And hopefully it works out, because like TI5 and TI6 they were reasonably bland, right? Besides like the whole 2-panel thing was the stupidest idea ever. Valve needs. I'm sure they understand that, right? Blitz, you're on the inside.
What was the 2-panel thing?
Yeah, they haven't repeated the 2-person panel, so
okay, but the 2-panel thing was a really cool concept, but that's also something, when we showed up for rehearsal for TI5, okay, it was the night before the first main event games, and we took a bus to the venue, and we get off the bus, and there's nobody there. And fortunately, we had a couple people with us, Toby, and Toby leads us into the building. He's like, well, this is the way that we went last year. And LD's there, and he's like, yeah, I think we go up those stairs. And so eventually, like, we walked around for 20 minutes and finally found, like, the desk where we were going to be. And we stood at the desk for, like, 5 minutes, and somebody comes running over. They're like, oh, where have you guys been? And after about 10 more minutes of back and forth, they're like, okay, yeah, those of you doing the first segment tomorrow morning, we'll need you here for sound check. The rest of you can go home. Like, the 2-panel thing is something that could have worked really well, but it's something that you actually would have needed to have, I don't know, rehearsals for. It's something that you actually would have needed to have planned and have like people coordinate with. And that just doesn't happen because the way Valve does things, it's all just sort of, whoa.
Yeah,
It's hard to.
Sounds
it's
like
hard
you
to,
got a bone to pick with somebody, Alan.
it's really tough to put a finished product together for like day one release. That I think
Yes.
that's something that I think Valve has consistently done over the years. Is hey, let's put this out there, let's see how it does, and let's morph it into what a finished product could potentially
Iteration.
look like.
And it's a great approach to problem solving when you're talking about software development, which is what they do. I don't know that that's as great an approach when you're talking about managing an event. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I think you guys definitely had some good points about people being invited to TI for the first time.
thank you.
All right, in which case I'm going to move over. We're going to go back to the MMR. And actually, since you're here, PPD.
Sure, yeah, I don't want to stick around forever. Like, this is
okay,
your
real
show.
quickly.
Let me just-
Last one. EG, do they have a stats person? For TI?
Yeah, so I believe SCG is working with, maybe the guys from the coaching thing, the Pugna, the BSJ promo code thing.
Is that Game Leap?
No, it's
Not
yeah,
that
that's
one.
Game Leap. That is Game
No,
Leap.
what's the
It's
one that looks like-
Pavugna?
Yeah, the one that looks like Pugna.
Yeah, Pavug. It's a V. You can't
So,
pronounce
yeah, I
it. There's
think
no
SC
vowels.
I think SVG's been talking to like the back end guy of that program
Okay.
about some very specific statistical data. I have a nice what's the word? A little story for you. There's a fancier word for that, but I'll get to it. So remember it was like TI5 or TI6 that they, this book of stats and all these like map information got leaked, right? You guys remember what I'm talking
It was,
about?
was
so,
TI5.
it was TI5
Yeah,
and it was
TI5.
so
TI5.
stupid. Like,
It was this huge book. It was like 60 pages, full like small text, everything, maps, wards, little spots, everything. And
it
gave
actually
it-
was not that detailed. Like, I made part of it.
Okay.
90% of the information in that book
Well, then
was
this is a
intended for
great
broadcast talent.
Well, this is a great point for Grant when he was talking about how fucking useless statsmen are on the analyst desk.
Go on.
Is because we picked up that book and we looked at it for like 5 minutes and we put it down and never opened it up again. It was just totally useless to us and no need at all.
I mean, I like I said, I was one of the people that worked on producing that book, and it was not like that is not what I would have given to Complexity last year, for
Hey,
example. Well,
I want to apologize. I'm just being theatrical. I hope you know that, Nahaz.
you're cool, dude. I get it.
PPD, did you ever have a stats person when you were on the squad?
We actually had
No, okay, so
Stan King helped us out a little bit for I think TI5.
Okay, how useful would you say those stats were? Were they helpful?
It was more so for our coach than it was for us. We kind of
Okay.
gave everything over to SVG and let him
are
kind
you
of
talking about TI6?
try it. Maybe I don't remember, one of the two.
I
But we
think
gave
that
him.
was
Yeah,
sorry.
that there's too much for players to worry about to go through all the statistical data. Things that I would do as a captain in order to, I always try to figure out trends. Hey, when does this team, first pick this hero? What 4 bands start off the game and this team says, hey, this is my number 1 hero, and that's like a statistical thing that you can determine based on watching their recent games. Those things are useful. Looking at, hey, where do they TP at minute 0? They smoke and they TP. How often does this support player go here and ward at this specific spot? Or does he mix it up? Does he do it every other game? Does he go between this spot and this other spot? And those are actually like the real time like stats and data that are actually valuable to professional players.
Power
That being
timings.
that being said, like really cool things like, hey, Wisp has a 10% win rate at this tournament. I think that's a cool little stat for viewers to be aware of. And even players themselves, I don't know how much I believe like in stats in that regard, saying, oh, Wisp hasn't done well at this tournament. Maybe Wisp isn't that good of a hero. Sure, that's a consideration and a thought, but it's more so, hey, what are teams, this hero, Wisp is a tool. Why are teams misusing this hero as a tool, and why maybe is this tool not particularly helpful in this certain meta?
Blitz, I know you also had some stats people approach you, right? Did you ever take anybody up on that offer for Liquid or for Planet Odd?
So I got sent a bunch of stuff. So on Liquid last year, I just kind of chilled, and this year for Planet Odd, I handled more of the actual Dota coaching side. And so we had some people give us some like, I know I got sent like 2 things by people who wanted to be our stats guy, and like I looked through it and it was pretty useless. It's like these guys pick this at this time, but the meta changes so fast, right? Like it goes tournament to tournament.
Wow.
So usually what we did is like in prep, we just look at we just watch the replay, see if there are any trends, and that's usually going to be good enough. Like as a player, I think there's just too much to worry about. If you tell somebody like, hey, at this time, they usually do this under these circumstances, like it's hard to remember that shit. Like Dota's much more of a free flowing game than that. Most of the time,
But I
like
think
stats people help with like picks, but
I think it's also, you guys are sort of, there's this presumption out there that that you can like develop a set of stats that are universally useful to every team. And I think you can, but I think that set is rather small. I think if you're going to be a stats person for a team, the number one thing that you need to understand is how that team drafts, how that team thinks, how that team values, right? You have to be able to, and you have to do like Kips is a good example. She's a good example of somebody that she's like up all night the night before the big game because she wants to make sure that she has all of the most relevant information up to date, all of the opponent's most recent replays. And it's more about taking a large amount of information and presenting it to the players and the captain in particular in an efficient manner. Because as a captain and a player, you don't have time to like go review all of this information, watch all the opponent's replays yourself. You want somebody that can do that job and condense all of that and give you that information in a more relevant fashion.
And do you think that was helpful for Complexity when you were doing analysis for them? And I'm presuming you've talked.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I honestly, the thing about Cole last year,
Swindle to the Fiend.
I never
Let's get him in here.
I never really got to be much of an analyst with Cole last year. It was the team had some personality, had some communication issues, and most of the time that we spent in the weeks before TI was trying to fix some of the issues that had developed over the 6 months prior. And I thought we'd made some decent progress, honestly, but unfortunately, it is in a lot of esports and a lot of pro sports, you look really bad until you look really good. You look really bad until you get over that hump. And we just weren't able to make it over that hump in time.
Great example, Bucky Mad coaching OG.
Yep.
I mean, I was a hater, but he seems to be really helping them out. He's doing well.
Does have pro experience.
I will say like the whole MMR thing, the biggest thing about like MMR that whenever people say like you don't need high MMR to analyze a game, like I would agree with you, but when I watch a lot of casts and stuff, everything's like very hindsighty. Like nothing's very predictive. Sure. If you play a lot of pubs, you're gonna see the trends that develop, and you're gonna see heroes that you like. And the only way that you're really gonna see that is if you play pubs at that high level. Unless you're just like literally doing nothing but watching high level pubs all day. But even then, like you kind of need the feel for the hero and shit like that.
But it should be 50-50 though. Like I agree with the point that you just made, but there is a certain amount of your first job as a caster is, okay, that is what just happened in that team fight that most of the viewers aren't going to have seen. Most of the viewers will have missed. This is the play that really won the fight, right? The predictive thing, I think it's great when you can do it, but you can also get yourself in a lot of trouble because like Dota is, you compare Dota to Counter-Strike. Like Counter-Strike is trivial to predict compared to Dota. It's like, it is very, very simple to predict compared to Dota. That doesn't mean that it's trivial overall, but predicting what's going to happen in a Counter-Strike match, if you know the two teams and you know the map, like your success rate is going to be much, much higher. And I have data on this. Unfortunately, it's proprietary. I can't share the numbers, but
of course,
trust me, like Dota is very, very hard to predict. And that's true regardless of your MMR.
Well, I just think like, Grant, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it's like I would agree with your point, Alan, in that you don't have to be this like ultra high level Dota player to understand the game. But like I was a good pub player. Like I had like 7.6k MMR or some shit, and I was analyzing Dota. And then I went to go work with Liquid because Kuro said he wanted to teach me Dota so that I could like be his feedback guy. Like he would tell me things about Dota, and I would be a sounding board. I'd be like, okay, that sounds good, that sounds bad. And like when he started first talking to me about Dota, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what do you mean map movement? And he's like, well, what do we do in this situation? I was like, holy fuck, I'm way out of my head right now. And like how many analysts have to go through that experience or can independently think of stuff like that?
You had an epiphany.
It was cool.
You finally learned. You were.
So you're saying
you were brought into the know.
It sounds like to me that the pubs couldn't actually prepare you for that.
Pubs, like, I don't know what even prepares you for shit like that. Like, how many times, Peter, do you watch an analyst panel and you're like, wow, they really understood everything that happened in that game?
Please, you think I'm not? You think I don't have that analyst panel on mute already?
That's what I mean.
Haven't
Like,
heard analyst panel in years.
Like any pro team that I've watched Dota with, like this is the first thing they do. They immediately listen for like 2 minutes about themselves, then they laugh, and then they mute it, and then they move on. It's like,
But again,
but I mean, the stream isn't for the pros.
Make the panel great again, man. We are gonna fix this at TI. It's gonna be the best panel of all time. We're mixing it up. We're doing.
That's why they're gonna have pros that.
All
I mean, I don't imagine, Peter, that for the time being, anyways, that you have any aspirations of playing. Bulldog, from what I gather, doesn't. Alke doesn't. Like, they're moving on for the most part. So, you know, they're going to be able to talk about whatever they want to talk about in terms of Dota stuff. Whereas in the past, like, you had to hold back. Because the problem with past panels is you had this, like, weird thing, unless your name was Bulba, where you would just talk about whatever because you didn't really care. But for the most part, pros, when they tell you stuff, it's like it's all really basic stuff because they don't want to reveal anything about their own playstyle. So they just kind of tell you things that are slightly better than current Dota analysts. But it's like I'm going to listen to the panel because from my perspective, that's going to be really fun. Watching pros just open up and say what they want about the game.
But
Grant,
let me ask you this question. Well,
Grant,
if you had somebody on the panel that made those like, all right. If you had somebody on the panel that made those Kuro level points that you're talking about, what percentage of the audience do you think would actually understand?
I guess it depends on who's going to be presenting it, like Peter said. So, I think like I'm not sure if like Bulldog's going to be the guy, but I think Bulldog's more there for like comedic effect, right?
If you're telling me that you, as a 7K or 8K pub player, went in and heard what Kuro was talking about, and you were initially like, whoa, what is this guy saying? You wonder what percentage of the audience that's applicable to. Like,
but once it was told to me, it made perfect sense. Like Dota for the most part, but Dota for the most part, once somebody explains something to you, like ask Cap. Whenever I explain anything on veggies to him, he instantly knows what I'm talking about. He's like, wow, that makes sense.
Dota is a game of hindsight being 20/20. That's for sure.
I'm wearing my Planet Odd shirt, by the way, Grant. Thanks for asking.
Grant, that Dr. P looked delicious.
It's crispy.
I thought you said you hated it, no?
It quenched the thirst.
I do, but, you know, you gotta... I mean...
Did you literally do it just for the viewers?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't know, like...
I have a really nice meta question for you guys. How helpful do you think it is for your chances at the next TI major to be on here complaining about all those people that were invited instead of you?
Probably decreases them.
Yeah.
How many of us are actively trying to get to next TI? I don't think Charlie is. I don't think I'm actively trying to get to TI. I don't know about Nahaz.
Well,
I'd like to, but
it's not the
Valve. Valve is not going to magically start to like me at this point. So
yeah, who gives a shit? They put shit.
I think you'd be surprised, man. I think if you put your head down and worked hard. No, you go ahead, Grant.
No, my God, Peter!
No, it's fine.
Did you really just say that to me?
I did say that to you.
Like,
You're so annoying on Twitter, it's unbelievable.
I am annoying on Twitter?
Yeah, you make yourself look like an idiot on Twitter.
I'm good. Now, the only reason I unfollowed you, Nahaz, on Twitter is because you said you were retiring from Dota, and I only followed Dota people. I legit thought you might have.
No, Nahaz, let's settle this, man.
Cool.
No,
let's settle this.
I'm not blaming you. I just thought you were.
Let's analyze some. I mean, trust me, I'm a child, right? But you're a grown ass man, and you're on Twitter fighting with other stats men.
Yeah, it's a double.
Publicly.
Like, it's a double fucking standard, right? Like,
Take it into DMs. If you got beef with someone on Twitter, like, unless you're like posting ironically, trying to be funny, like, there's no need. It's like, it's that thing where it's like, oh, don't say anything if you don't have anything nice to say. Like, I don't know. Unless you're into it for like the theatrics and you're trying to be a personality and you're trying to develop your brand and be entertaining by being so outspoken and having such a harsh opinion, like putting those things out there in the public just really aren't worth it to you ever. Like, you're only just gonna piss people off.
okay, I mean,
That's
obviously,
why I've stopped. Yeah.
To be fair, didn't you used to get into beef with a lot of people too, Peter?
yeah, I was gonna say this
but he
would
stopped.
seem to be
Definitely.
But he
ultimate
stopped,
glass
and
house.
he's
out there.
invited to events, right? He stopped. Like, even I've stopped. I literally use Twitter. I'll read it. The only time I post, I'm streaming, or like some tomatoes. Like, look at my girlfriend. I'll be like, cool. Like Twitter
Well,
should be there.
Grant, you back
I get really triggered by the whole
I didn't hear
idea
what you
that
said.
like you guys are allowed to tell each other to fuck yourselves on Twitter, but when I do it, like I'm a grown ass man.
Yeah, you
So
got the
I'm
white
not
hair,
that much
man.
fucking older than you, dude. Like,
All right. I mean, we're the same. Like, the more I've grown up, the more, you're not like when I was a little kid and you were an adult, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait till I get to be a real adult. Eventually I just grew up and realized, oh, hey, I'm an adult.
adulthood sucks. Like, I mean, anyway,
Well, this is a
What?
conversation Blitz and I actually recently had.
What's that?
We had a strong talk about the effect that social media has on our careers, essentially, and that the things that
Yeah.
we want to be able to post can only negatively affect us, pretty much.
pretty
All
much.
all I realized
don't
is, like,
know.
every time I go on Reddit and I argue with some idiot, and I know Valve actively reads Reddit, like they've shown time and time again, right? I'm just like, I look like a fucking idiot. Like, this is so pointless. Like, when I didn't get invited to TI, I said congrats Shiver because I was happy for her. I was glad that she was going. I said I was still gonna go for fun, and that's life.
Yeah,
I do think it negatively impacts your chances.
Look, so I think the perfect example of this is Richard Lewis, right? For all of you guys that follow him, you sort of know his shtick. For those that don't, he gets in arguments with other people constantly, like the smallest nobody or whatever, anybody that sort of disagrees with him or whatever,
And
he
he'll
will
retweet their idiotic
he'll
comment. Yep.
retweet their comments, and he'll keep on going, so he always gets the last word. Now, like, I like Richard's content and his stuff or whatever. I have no problem with him personally or whatever.
He's a great
But-
host.
But when he does that, like, even the people that respect his work and everything, they all look at that and they're like, "My God, please stop."
No, I mean,
Yeah,
if
but
you will
he-
actually retweet the most vitriolic comments.
Let Grant talk. Let Grant talk.
Richard Lewis is still hosting E-League, and he's going to continue hosting E-League. So what are you saying? Like, you're saying negativity on Twitter is like it affect his job, but he's
I'm
living
saying-
a dream job right now. So
No,
what's wrong?
okay, so I'm saying he has that E-League job despite how he acts on Twitter. Like, I think that that's how good he is at his other job. His image though is still there. If he wasn't as good at his hosting job and all his other stuff, like, that could affect him. I'm just
Could,
saying,
but
like,
it doesn't.
well, not everyone is Richard Lewis. Not everybody is as good as what they do as Richard.
Do you
Hey,
like that comparison,
everybody,
Alan?
everybody has their own thresholds, what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. And the sooner you
Penis.
figure out what that line is and not get in trouble for the things that you want to do, then all the more power to you. But yeah, I'm gonna go to dinner though. Thanks for having me.
Hey, have
Thanks
a
for
good
coming
dinner,
on, Peter.
Peter. It's an
I'll,
honor to have you on and talk with you.
I'll see you guys. I'll see some of you guys in Seattle.
I think all of us are going.
I think we're all gonna be there, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I am. Nahaz, are you going?
No,
You're not?
Nope.
What? Why not?
I
Just
don't
don't want to?
really have a reason to be there. Like that, this has to be a business for me now. I'm not going to take a pleasure trip out there. I can better, if I'm going to be producing content, I can better do that from here.
Fair enough.
Nahaz, you
We'll
want
miss
to create
you.
a show where we just shit talk about the other talent that got invited?
Nah, dude, it's cool.
Just
Blitz,
like a
you're
day-by-day
going to the
breakdown
event.
TI? Of course I am. Because
then-
you still go to. I mean, it's TI at the end of the day. I fucking love Dota, and it's a fun event, right?
No.
All right,
It's
guys.
the only place where I can throw
I
shit
know,
at Cap.
You're on stats and shit, right? Cap
What?
there.
What? Sorry, what, Grant?
Richard Lewis would keep us on track. I'm just kidding.
What's up?
Where are we at? Where are we standing right now?
Nothing. I was about to wrap the show up unless you guys have anything else. Cause,
Okay. I've got one thing. So
Sounds
are
good.
we for sure what Tort Delaney is doing at the event?
pretty
like,
sure
why
he's doing the
is he
noob
event?
stream.
Okay, and what is the okay, so the noob stream, how many noobs are actually going to tune in to the noob stream instead of the main stream where everything's going down? I've heard, oh, it's just going to be stats popping up, but you're going on Twitch, right? The front page of Twitch is going to be the main stream. How many new people are going to be like, oh, I'm not going to look at the I'm not going to look at this main one where everyone's at. I'm going to go look for, maybe they have a noob friendly stream. Like, who does the noob friendly stream cater to?
Noobs.
Well, Blitz,
Yeah,
you,
but they're not looking
Blitz,
for it.
you
They're
did
just
the
gonna
noob
go to
stream.
They're going to go to
Yeah.
the fucking mainstream. They're not going to go look
Well,
for the fucking
How
I
one.
mean,
successful
that's
do
an
you think
easy
with the noob
question.
stream was?
That's an easy question to answer. How many viewers did the noob stream get the first time they did it?
Hey guys,
I think
noob
I literally
stream,
just asked
Caster
that.
here.
The noob stream shit. That's what I'm
We
saying.
had like 5K viewers at all times.
Wow. Congrats.
I hated that though. The way that we did it was just, it got so boring. It was every game like, hey Shane, what does BKB do? Oh, it's this golden item Blitz that makes you invulnerable from magic damage.
And I think that's the point, right? That they're doing overlays instead of having
Yeah.
casters.
If I had to
say the
explain
same
that shit,
things.
Like 10 times, we made it into a meme at one point. Me and Pyrian would start laughing. It was like, hey Blitz, what is a mechanism? It's kind of like a heal bomb of sorts, Ted. It's fucking wanted to die. But
What does it do? What's it actually going to accomplish?
Well, the thing is,
it sucked
okay,
ass.
so Grant, from your perspective, like the way that we did it, like at least ours was pretty bad, but the Purge and Sunshine one was pretty legit. I watched that, and
Yeah.
we had a lot of people. Fuck, I was about to do it.
You watched it? Like, what'd you learn from it? How did you think it was
I mean,
good?
I didn't learn from it.
Like, in
but
what
I
way
thought,
did you think it was good? I mean,
I thought if I knew nothing about Dota and I had some people in my life that wanted to know Dota, it's like I'm not just going to introduce them to the mainstream and say go ahead. What it was like a program, right? You watch a bit of the noob stream, you get a basic understanding of some of the terms that we take for granted. That was the main thing, right? Like when you say farm, when we say gank, like that isn't in the lexicon. Grant, like that.
yeah,
shit-
but you're not going to learn, like, from watching one game on the noob stream, be like, all right, I'm lexicon
Well,
up,
you have a-
boys, to
you
the
have a better
mainstream.
You have a much better perspective though over the course of the days, because most of the time we don't cast for an ultra casual audience, right?
I don't know. It just feels weird that us as Reddit wasted our spirit bomb on getting a noob stream. That's guy. That's what
So you're saying you wish they'd saved that spirit bomb for you?
No, for Coddle Guy or Trent Packs. Like, I really don't see, like, all this talent was talking about the newbie stream, and I really don't think it has an impact at all. And I think, like, I'm one of those people, I think the newbie stream's just dumb. Like, if you don't know
think it-
Dota,
I think it
you're just
could
gonna
be
watch
really
the main
good.
event. It could
Well,
be.
okay, so
Could it be?
here's
Well,
the
I-
other side of the coin. Will getting Coddle Guy or Trent Packs there broaden the scope of Dota versus having the potential people that will watch a noob stream?
And we already saw the potential, which was extremely low the last time it was here.
5K is
5K,
measurable.
I get 5K casting pubs sometimes. Like, that's like.
Do you
that's-
really? That's pretty
Yes.
good. That's pretty
but
damn
it's
good, Grant.
like-
Go you.
Thanks, but I don't know. We can maybe I don't have the perspective because like when people ask me
You
like
don't,
how do you
'cause
get
you-
into Dota? Yeah, it's true, but like
Right.
how many people who watch the newbie stream do you think are actually to continue watching Dota after TI? Like what is it? Right, Valve's doing this because they want more people.
Well, but
to
that's
play.
not that. That's not. Yeah, they're trying to get you to play. Like they're trying to get you to try the game.
We wasted our
All
spirit.
right, I'm gonna cut this out because I think this is a stupid ass conversation.
Why?
Sorry,
well,
Grant.
what do you think? You think the newbie stream's actually useful? Yes or no? That's
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I-
I do.
yes, I
like
It's
it.
useful
Yeah, I think it
bringing new
is.
people
I like
in.
it a lot.
you guys are actually legitimately.
I don't care. I'm the host. I'm cutting you out,
That's
Grant. Is there anything else you want to talk about besides the noob stream and whether or not it's useful?
I didn't. I
right,
wanted
Alan,
to
your
mention
turn.
briefly about the prize pool distribution. Like I had this discussion last year. A lot of us after TI 5 said we thought the prize pool distribution was a little too steep. 36%, I believe it was, went to first place. And so Valve came back last year and 44% went to first place. And this year it's using TI-70 is using exactly the same percentages as TI-6, which means 70% of the prize money goes to the top 3 teams. I think that's really bad. I think, first of all, obviously players they guard their cuts, their percentages very jealously, and I think that's fine. But I know of at least one person that is going to be doing unpaid work, like in terms of working for a team and they're paying for their own flight. Like, obviously, I think this person is crazy, but
I mean,
that aside,
that's more on them than it is on.
I agree, but here's the thing. In that particular case, I agree. But overall, I don't think we're talking about $200,000 being 1% of the prize pool. I don't think it's unreasonable to have every team there walk away with at least 1% of the prize pool. And that means, for example, that they can afford to fly out a few more people and house a few more people there to do team support stuff. Like, there was only going to be 6 slots per team this year. Valve extended it to 7 after a lot of the players complained. But like, when you're talking about creating opportunities for people in the scene, which is ultimately what I care about. Like, I want every team to have the opportunity to bring a manager, a coach, and at least one analyst. And when you're talking about, there are some of these teams that are coming from nothing, and they may only walk away with $50,000. They can't commit to pay for somebody's flight and hotel room. Like, that's really shitty to me.
All right. Alan, that is your last laundry list of Valve complaints.
Okay,
All right.
I'm gonna say 10 words. Can I just say 10 words to rebuttal that?
Go for it, Grant. After you, sir.
Like, well, it's gonna be more than 10 words, but people say that if we give more money to the lower tier teams, it'll help the growth of it. And I'm like, what is giving Infamous 100,000 instead of 50,000? What's that really gonna do for a scene? Nothing. Like, I think
you understand that, like,
you are, the more money you should make. That's just
Grant. When you're talking about teams from South America or SEA, that's like $50,000 is a life-changing amount of money.
That's
when you're
what
talking about that difference.
Checkmate.
10,000 versus 20,000 per player is a very big deal in terms of these players being able to fund their professional career potentially for the next several years, man. Like,
yeah, but it doesn't help the whole scene. It helps one team that's here, Infamous. Well, okay, they're just gonna get better and shit on everyone else. That's what
all right. You're wrong, but I've lost my desire to discuss this.
Well, you're wrong, but okay, Cap. Charlie, you were up.
Got him.
Oh man. I mean, look. At the end of the day, I don't like. You want more opportunities for more people in the scene, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't think the percentage of prize pool distribution is like the main thing that's gonna do that. So I'll tell you why they decreased. At least this is the rationale behind decreasing the number of people that Valve pays for from originally 8 to 6 back to 7. So they would like third party organizers or team organizations to start providing more value to. Look, are you gonna let me finish? I'm saying their rationale here is that they would like team orgs and sponsors to start providing more value to players and teams in this space now, right? So they would like other people to start footing the bill.
May I interrupt briefly, Charlie?
I feel like you will
guessing?
anyways.
No.
I'm not guessing. I am not guessing.
Okay.
I'm not guessing. So that's their rationale here. And they would like more opportunities for more people in the space. But ultimately, I don't think that creating a more equal prize pool really matters that much. I think more than anything, what you're going to do to create more opportunities in this space are enabling those third parties, those teams and sponsors, and those other peoples to be able to provide more fucking value. And so instead of Valve providing everything with a huge prize pool and paying for everything, and the TI prize pool being able to sort of pay for everything, they're going to take away some things so that these third-party teams and sponsors can come in and foot the bill.
But so I think that's an excellent point, and I would love to see the scene go in that direction. But that is literally putting the cart before the horse. I guess not literally, because it's a figure of speech. Whatever, internet meme. Point being, like the major system is a step toward that direction, but you can't just then like randomly do it for a TI before you've given teams don't get invited to Dota. 5 players get invited to the international. 5 players get invited to the international. Like, Valve has never even recognized organizations officially.
Well, the reason this helps, I guess, is that it gives organizations more bargaining power now. If you know that if you're not getting as much from TI in terms of how much Valve pays for and how much your guaranteed prize cut is, then it makes your salary throughout the year more worth it. Or worth more, rather. Look, I'm not saying I entirely agree with their approach, but, that is one effect of doing it this way.
Grant, what the hell is on your head?
Well done, Grant. All right. Blitz, you got anything else?
It was a really fun roast of Nahaz. I'm glad that
I don't think it was a roast.
we hopped him on so that we could ambush the shit out of him. The Peter one was good. Cap, you should have told me about that.
I didn't plan Peter ahead of time.
I hope you didn't take anything too personally, Alan. Discussion is discussion, right?
It happens. Yep.
I mean, if we're gonna disagree with you, it's. I did agree with your point though about how you don't have to be a professional to be an analyst of the game, but I just want better analysts in the game.
I think we all do. I think, I guess.
I should say I want better analysis.
I guess
I don't want better analysts.
My point is there are a lot of different ways to get better analysis. Like there's more than one path to get there.
All right.
Yeah, I agreed with you.
Fair enough. Thank you, Blitz, Charlie, Grant, and especially Alan. Our first podcast was a little bit too everybody agrees with everybody. So you are actually the perfect fix to our podcast. Thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. That is the end of the podcast. If you missed some of it, it'll be going up on youtube.com/DotaCapitalist. And that's it. We'll have more of this maybe tomorrow or maybe leading into TI. We might do something. Not sure. Maybe we'll do something at TI. But follow this channel if you want to be able to watch more of this podcast. That's it. Thanks for watching.